Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Wednesday, May 15th, 2019, 7:29 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So I'm getting a little bit of a late start today, but what I'd like to do is go over some space weather and then go over earthquakes, and that's pretty much it. So here we're looking at the sun from today. This is the corona, and we can see these sunspots. See one right here. We've had some CMEs and got some stuff headed towards the earth. We've got some holes in the corona with solar wind streaming toward us. So this is very active right now. Here's another hole. So here over on spaceweather.com, they're saying that we're waiting for the solar storm. NOAA forecasters say there's a 75% chance of geomagnetic storms on May the 16th, when a CME is expected to hit Earth's magnetic field. The impact could cause storms ranging in strength from Category 1 minor, G1, which is minor, to G2 moderate. Sky watchers in northern tier U.S. states such as Maine, Minnesota, the Dakotas, Montana, and Washington State should be on alert for auroras. So here's what the sun looks like right now. We have this sunspot, 2741, that's facing us, and it's kind of like three holes put together. That's kind of interesting. And then 2740 is going away. The sun is rotating to the right here, and so this 2740 is about to go to the other side. But 2741 is still right here. And so that's what the sun is looking like. And be alert for Steve too. There's more to geomagnetic storms than auroras. Sometimes a completely different phenomenon appears, and they call it Steve. And it's an acronym. Steve is a hot 3,000 degrees Celsius ribbon of ionized gas slicing through Earth's upper atmosphere some 300 kilometers above the ground. It appears unpredictably during some but not all geomagnetic storms. Originally thought to be a type of aurora borealis, new research shows that it is not an aurora at all. So here we can see this line. It looks like a rainbow, but this is a Steve. The soft purple color of Steve may be caused by emissions from nitrogen, according to a new study just published in the Geophysical Research Letters. Its color and narrow ribbon-like structure distinguish it from regular auroras, which tend to be green and wide. Residents of Canada and northern tier U.S. states should look for Steve this week after the CMEs hit. And if you want to know more about Steves, here's the study. Magnetospheric signatures of Steve, implication for the magnetospheric energy source and interhemispheric conjugacy. So Steve stands for strong thermal emission velocity enhancement. So It's a hot wave coming from the sun is what it is. Steve, now you know. It's not just a guy's name. And here are the fireballs. We have 7 fireballs right now coming in. Here are near-Earth asteroids on May 16th, which is tomorrow. There are 1,983 potentially hazardous asteroids. So here we are on the 16th. 2019 JN5 is coming in 4.4 lunar distance, and the velocity is 13.1 kilometers per second, 28 meters in diameter. So that won't get close enough to do anything. And then cosmic rays, and then your daily hot flights to see how much radiation you're going to get when you travel. When you fly, you get a lot of radiation. So you can check out the flight and see how much radiation you're going to get. So now, let's move on over to earthquakes. We have USGS pulled up here for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours. We're showing 318 today, so we're seeing an uptick in the number, probably because of the stuff that's going on with the sun and the fact that we had that 7.5 down here at Papua New Guinea yesterday and a bunch of aftershocks and all that. So of those, we have 34 that are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So this one is going to come off the map at 8:06, 2.7 in the Gulf of Alaska. So let's start down here in the South Pacific and work our way around. We're going to start with this 5.3 in the Kermadec Islands near Raoul Island, New Zealand, that came in at 7:09 this morning, 35 kilometers deep. Now these times I'm telling you are Pacific time, time for the United States, because that's my time zone. Next is 4.8 near Kulu Madau, Papua New Guinea at 8:14 last night. And then 5.7 near Tyrone, Papua New Guinea at 8:23. I'm sorry, 6:23 this evening. Now here's the little wave. Let's see if we have a tsunami warning with this. No, the last tsunami warning, it looks like, was from the 7.7 from yesterday that got downgraded to a 7.5. I think it's amazing that there wasn't more damage done. Here's a 4.5 near Namlia, Indonesia at 8:03 this morning, and a 4.3 near Sarangani, Philippines at 6:07 this evening, 179 kilometers deep. Now coming on up off the coast of Japan, a 4.6 near Harare, Japan. Looks like it's kind of near Taiwan at 1:54 this morning, 101 kilometers deep. and a 5.4 near Moti, Japan at 10:24 last night, 35 kilometers deep. 4.2 near Shinju, Japan at 1:32 this morning, 423 kilometers deep, very deep. Now moving on over to the ones that are on land, we have a 4.8 near Zilao, China at 1:33 this afternoon. And we had one up here in Russia. Where'd it go? Here it is. In Siberia. Here's a 4.7 near Chara, Russia. This came in at 12:31 this afternoon. This is just north of China. We've been seeing some large methane releases come up out of this area. So, now moving on around, here's a 5.1 near Zanzibar, Yemen at 5:11 this morning, right on the red line in this Gulf of Aden, right there. Then moving on up was a 4.8 near Isbad al-Burj, Egypt at 9:53 this morning. And then here are two near Greece, 4.1 near Kardamas at 3:26 this afternoon, and a 4.6 near Gastouni, Greece at 3:54 this morning. So I think that's all of them on the west side. Now let's come across the Pacific. Start down here in South America. Here's a 4.4 near Santa Cruz, Chile at 6:34 this evening. 5.1 near Calingasta, Argentina at 5:32 this afternoon, 109 kilometers deep. Next, 4.5 near Calama, Chile at 5:02 this afternoon, 100 kilometers deep. Next, a 4.4 near Tocopilla, Chile at 12:55 this morning, 40 kilometers deep. Moving on up, here's one off the coast of El Salvador, 4.3 near La Libertad, El Salvador at 6:14 this evening, and a 4.2 near Ocos, Guatemala at 6:47 this evening. Then 4.6 near Socorro Island, Mexico at 7:49 this morning. We saw one here last night too, I think. So that's all of the international earthquakes. Now let's go to all magnitudes, starting with Hawaii. Oh, we've got an event going on down here. Look at these. Off the coast of Pahala. We've got 16 total. Now let's just separate these out. We've got 11 off the coast of Pahala. Let's see, here's a 2.7, 2.5. These are all in the 2s range. Here's a 1.8, that's a lower one. 2.4. Well, at least they're not saying other event. Remember when we had them down here recently and it said other event or something like that? That was kind of freaky. We were thinking it was a landslide underneath. Then the rest of them are up here at Mauna Loa. So we got 5 here. This is the Mauna Loa crater. So we got a couple in the crater. Here's one just on the side, and another one on the side, and another one off a little further away. So we've got 5 here. The largest one is this 2.8 right in the center. That one came in at 9:18 this morning at a minus 0.6 kilometer depth. And here's this 1.7 had a minus 3 kilometer depth. So the magma was up in the mountain. It's a volcano. That's what it does. It moves around up there and makes things happen. Now, the Dominican Republic area, we've got 7 here today. 1.5, 2.8, 2.3, 2.7, 2.7, 2.7, and 2.1. So mainly 2s there. So not big enough to cause damage, but it's still showing movement. Now moving on up into Alaska, we're seeing 109 here today for all magnitudes. Of those, we've got 3 that are 2.5 magnitude or higher. We've got this 2.7 in the Gulf of Alaska, 2.6 Unalakleet, and a 2.5 at Kobuk. So we've got a whole bunch of little ones now. Here's one, minus 0.4 at Adak, so a little microquake there. We've got a couple here, Dutch Harbor and Unalaska, 0.8 and 0.3. Small ones. And here's, wow, these are happening on these Aleutian Islands. So we've got 6 here, 8. Oh, okay, let's get those off the map. We've got 6 here, False Pass and Cold Bay. These are pretty small, 1.2 and 1.8 at False Pass. Come on up. We've got 7 right here. Here's a 2.3 King Salmon, and then here's in the Larsen Bay area. Now coming on up into the Cook Inlet, we've got some at Redoubt Volcano, and we've got Anchorage is picking back up on this view here. There are 29 right here. Here's a 2.0 at Willow. Moving on up, we've got more moving out from Anchorage along this coastline, and then coming on up into the mountains. So we're seeing the movement spread out, probably because of that large earthquake, the large earthquakes that happened at Papua New Guinea, which is directly opposite Alaska, which is going to cause movement. It's going to cause shaking on the other side of the tectonic plate. Here's a 2.0 Tanana. Let's see what we've got at Kobuk. We've got 16 today. Most of those are in the ones range. We've got another little cluster here by Ruby. We've got 4 at Ruby. Here's we saw that 2.6. Here's a small one, 1.1 Arctic Village, and here's Arctic Circle on 1.4 and a 1.4. So these are pretty small. Here's Fairbanks, a 1.4 near Badger. So definitely showing movement. Now let's come on down to the lower 48. We're going to start over here in Tennessee, 2.4 near Mascot, Tennessee at 7:56 this morning. And then we've got 3 right together here. It says 4. I only see 3, but it says 4. 1.8 Harper, Kansas. 2.8 Blackwell, Oklahoma. 2.6 Blackwell, Oklahoma. Those are stacked up. And 1.8 Caldwell, Kansas. Then moving on up into Utah, we've got 2, a 0.9 at Wolf Creek and a 0.9 at Malad City, Idaho. And then coming up into the Yellowstone area, we're seeing 19 here today. So this is definitely showing activity. What's here? Here, let's look at this cluster at Challis, Idaho. We've got a 2.2, 1.1, 2.3, 2.2, and 2.1. So that's picking up, and that's good sized. Here's a little one, 0.5 near Lima, Montana. Coming on across, we got 5 here near all part of West Yellowstone, Montana. These are small ones and under. That 1.0 was the largest. Then we've got 0.7 near Virginia City, Montana. And then coming on up, we've got 7 here. 0.9 and 0.9 near Lincoln. And 0.9, 1.4, and 1.7 near Lincoln. 2.0 Sealy and 1.1 Sealy. So that's all right there together. Now let's move on up to the Pacific Northwest. Well, first of all, we've got a 2.4 explosion. 2.4 magnitude earthquake from an explosion near Princeton, Canada. This came in at 2:07 this afternoon. I forgot to pull up my real-time tremor map. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So let's look at these tremors here. Now the tremors are what happened before the earthquakes happen. It shows a movement, shaking. And so in the last 3 hours, it shows 0.6 hours of tremors. So that's gone way down since yesterday. In the last 12 hours, it shows 3.4 hours of tremors. Most of them over by Salem and Medford, Oregon. In the last 24 hours, is showing 8.8 hours of tremors. It's about a third of the time in those same areas, but it's spreading out, going down this west coast and then coming up here towards Seattle. Alright, so there's our tremors. So we saw our explosion there. Here's a 1.2 earthquake near Colwood, Canada. Here's a 1.9 magnitude explosion near Boardman, Oregon. And 0.9 near Sun River, Oregon. So that's all up there. Now let's jump down to Nevada. Let's start in southern Nevada. Look at this. This is crazy. This is all at Alamo. Look at this going up. Wish I knew what was going on there. We got 41 here today. Let's see if any of those are 2.5 magnitude or higher. No, it doesn't look like it. $41, that's crazy. The last one was a 1.7 that came in at 6:27 tonight. 2.3. Most of these are ones. Here's a 2.0. And then ones and under. So definitely something going on there to make 41 earthquakes. And that's been going on for the last week or so. Here's a 2.4 near Courant. Here's a 2.7 near Hawthorne. Here's a 0.9 Hawthorne. And then we've got a few more down here at Hawthorne. Pretty small. 0.2 and 2.0. Here's a 1.3 Bridgeport, California. So I think that's it for Nevada. They were mainly clustering down there at Alamo. Now let's come on over to California. It's going to start over here in Northern California. We've got 2 at Redwood Valley, a 1.7 and 1.8. And we've got a 1.9 at Lake Pillsbury. Well, here's Lake Pillsbury. That's the reporting station. This is south of Lake Pillsbury. Now Oroville is right down here. And we're still kind of holding our breath on everything. Still watching the water rise. This is the dam here. This is the reservoir, the lake that's rising. I wasn't going to report on it, but if people want to see, the last reading, the lake level was at 889.32 feet and rising. The inflow at the last reading was 10,650 cubic feet per second, and the outflow was 9,785 feet per second. And the latest press release that was done today was saying that they were going to not use the main spillway until the lake level reaches 899 feet. That's the latest. That's from the officials. But they're assuring everyone that they have everything under control and there are no problems. So, that's all I have to say on that. You already know how I feel about everything, 'cause I already said it. I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, and in my show 2 nights ago, I really laid it out. So, I just think people need to be prepared for any situation. Here we have a 1.4 near Columbia, California. Here we have 5 at Mammoth Lakes and Round Valley. 2.1 is the largest one. Coming on down, we have 9 here at the Coso Junction area. This 2.1 looks like it's the largest. Here's another explosion, a quarry blast, a 2.0 near Boren. Here's a 1.0 Yucca Valley. Let's see what just came in here. 2.2 Brawley. Here's a 0.9 quarry blast near Chula Vista. 1.3 magnitude quarry blast near Rancho San Diego. 1.2 magnitude quarry blast near Santee. So all that blasting is not going to help matters any. So in Southern California we have 30 earthquakes here today. We've got some in the Salton Sea. We've got 5 here in the Salton Sea. Kind of stacked up there. And then they're just peppered around. And then let's come on up. Here's a 1.2 Grapevine. 1.7 Similar. Now we're following this San Andreas fault line up. 2.3 Hollister. 1.4 Alum Rock. And here we have 31 at the Geysers today. Now let's see what was 2.5 magnitude or higher. If there were any over here. Nope. So, 31 over here at the Geysers. These are mainly 1s and under. Here's a 2.1, 2.0. Those are some of the larger ones, and so forth. But that's kind of a standard number of earthquakes, around between 20 and 30 at the Geysers every day. Already showed that. I showed those. And I think that's a wrap. Got stuff coming in up in Alaska. They're pretty small. So let's zoom out. I think I showed this one at Guatemala. Yeah. Yep, showed that. So I think that's a wrap. So I'd like to end with a chapter from the Bible. And I think we are in the end times, and I think it's good for us to keep our focus on spiritual things, especially as things fall apart more and more and more. And we need to stay focused inwardly and don't let the events happening around you distract you from your inward reality and from your connection with God and Jesus. So I'd just like to read the book of Psalms, chapter 1. This is pretty short. I like this one. And I think it's appropriate with what we're dealing with today. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. I like that. And just remember that everything is being noted in the heavenlies, every thought, word, and deed. And so things will be accounted for. Everyone will have to account for their deeds sooner or later. So, until next time, love you guys. God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon. Go in peace. Good night.